What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Kios the Ronin Beatmaker, here with another Ronin review. Season 1 of The Legend of Vox Machina. Now, I have to say, I really love this show. This is a personal favorite of my show, animated show. I was hooked the first trailer I saw, and I really recommend people if you're apprehensive on animated shows, or you're looking for something that can hit all the right notes, this is the show to go for. It is a fun show. It is incredible writing. The setups are wonderful and they pay off well. The consistency in the story and the characters is honestly, in many ways, I would say, way better than what we get in a lot of live action television, if that makes sense. So before we get into it, I want to give a special shout out to Critical Role, who the show is based off of, with the creator Chris Prynoski. I apologize if I'm getting your name incorrect, but I want to give a shout out to them since they're the ones who created and brought us this wonderful show with incredible animation and action. And I want to get into the show real quick by just giving you guys, for anyone who is new or haven't seen the show, a quick rundown on the crew. So, from starting from left to right, we got, where is his name? Travis Willingham as Grog. Then we have on Grog's shoulder the gnome. Grog is I think he's an ogre. No, I think he's an ogre or a troll. So, and he's voiced by Travis Willingham. We got the gnome on his shoulder named Pike, who's voiced by Ashley Johnson. We got Keyleth, who is voiced by Marissa Ray. We got Percy, who is voiced by Taliesin Jaffe. We got Vex Alia, who is voiced by Lauren Bailey. Then she's an elf, and then the gnome at the bottom in the purple is Scanlan, voiced by Sam Riegel, and then the twin elf is that's Vax, who is voiced by Liam O'Brien, and then the bear Trinket, who is the pet of the twins, Vex and Vax. So that is the crew in the voice cast of the show Vox Machina. Just want to give a special shout out to them and everyone who's important for this show. And yeah, so I highly recommend you guys give them all a shout out or let them know on their social medias you value and appreciate the work that they do. Because we don't really get a lot of good shows like this with really good consistency and quality and care. And especially when it comes to animated shows. And don't get me wrong, I know, Japanese animation has been killing it and there's a lot of strong stuff out there. But when it comes to Western animated shows, we're kind of lacking in that department. And I really feel that the show Vox Machina does a wonderful job of kind of filling that gap for Western animation. And so, before we get into the spoilers, I just want to keep on saying that this show is phenomenal. Like I said, the consistency in the writing. So when you're introduced to the entire group, you're already get this feeling of camaraderie, that they've been together, that they understand one another, and it's in a bar scene. It's at a bar, and it's really wonderful the way they present these characters and their strengths and their flaws within the introduction of the show. And it's nothing too crazy. It's a bar fight, classic stuff. But the humor in it as well, it is phenomenal. They know how to catch like the subtle humor that you get in groups of friends who've been working together, living together, whatever it may be, for years. So they know how to get that subtlety of how one another gets they get on each other's nerves, but there's still this love and appreciation and even accountability towards one another. They do a real good job of introducing that really early on in the show, that these are a group of individuals who have their flaws and their issues, but somehow that makes them that much stronger as a group. And you really get that in the writing. The writing really shows you how strong these characters are. And they really do a good job of emphasizing the individuality of each character as well. So I really recommend people, you will not be disappointed with the writing of this show. And the animation is just phenomenal. It is, there's an attention to detail that I really, really appreciate. And they clearly have done their homework and really see the value of how important it is when it comes to hand drawing animation, and also the attention to detail and facial movements and expressions. Something that you really see really good in anime. They really know how to capture those various emotional moments and reactions, and they do a great job of doing that in this show. The show has this ability to resonate with you on those types of levels where the animation is so believable. Their expressions, the way they react to each other, it's so believable. It's so human. And for a show that is set in a fantasy realm with, talking dragons, talking gods, magic, all this fantastical elements, it's incredible how they're able to use all of those elements to not only build this world and the lore, but also the characters. And that is something we don't get a lot, especially in Western animation. This attention to appreciating the world just as much as the characters, and allowing the environments to um, react and show the strengths and weaknesses of various characters, especially when it comes to Vox Machina. And that is something that you will not get a lot of in many shows, that appreciation of the world, the environments. They make sure to ensure that the environments around them that they are interacting with are just as much as an important character as they are. And that is one thing that I love very much about this show. They know how to use the world to tell the story of Vox Machina, but also tell the story of the world of Taldoria, the continent that they're currently on. It is a phenomenal show, and I really appreciate that. So I want to get into spoilers for season one, because we're going to be covering season one. With that being said, I am going to be putting on a slideshow, and the slideshow will have spoilers for season one. So if you're not interested in that, I highly recommend you cut off in the next minute, because I'm going to wrap up my non spoiler review for the show. This show knows how to take a season, right? And put it into three parts. All right, you have act one, two, and three. And each act concludes, but it builds upon the following act. And it leaves in breadcrumbs for future acts in future seasons. And the way that season one ends, not only does it conclude the story of Percy, because season one entirely focuses on Percy, who is a lord of Winterfell, and his family suffered a coup d'état, and it's um, really well. It was great that they used his story because it's a classic revenge story. So you have this who's the last son of this fallen house. He returns to reclaim it. So they really do a good job of using this revenge story to really establish the world and the characters and build upon the future um, future seasons and story arcs that you're going to get. And the way that this season ends, it prepares you perfectly for potential major future story arcs, story arc. So I'm really excited about how this show handles putting in these breadcrumbs of establishing future potential stories. And and in a sense, they're almost like plot holes, but there's plot holes that end up getting filled. And that's one thing that you don't really get a lot of shows. They don't pay off when they drop in little plot holes or little cliffhangers, I should say. And even like I guess plot holes was the wrong word to say, but they'll put in these little cliffhangers, or you would think like a plot hole. Yeah, I think it's still good, appropriate to say that, but they fill them. They'll drop something in there, and then later on in a later episode they'll address it and they'll reference that previous episode. So like I said, consistency is what makes this show phenomenal. So without further ado, let us into Hello there, I'm Kios Ronin Beatmaker, and welcome to Ronin Art and Music, home to Ronin music, lounge Ronin, all things, everything, the Monday Mindset, Rants, and Ronin Reviews. We strive to make holistic and authentic content that aims to improve your individuality, mental fortitude, and peace of mind. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love. Hello there, I'm Kios Ronin Beatmaker, and welcome to Ronin Art and Music, home to Ronin music, lounge Ronin, all things, everything, the Monday Mindset, Rants, and Ronin Reviews. We strive to make holistic and authentic content that aims to improve your individuality, alrighty, mental fortitude. Now let's get into spoilers. All right, y'all. So, season one, like I said, consistency all around. And like I was saying, season one, it focuses on Percy, and he is the fallen son and the last son of Winterfell. And after the coup d'etat, um, him and Vox Machina, they've been working together for years. He ends up getting brought to the king's royal party for all of the dignitaries of the local city states under the king in Taldoria. And what's great about that introduction is Percy then sees for after years the people who are responsible for the murder of his family, the Derolos. As you see on the screen right now, that is the witch of the Derolo house. She is the one who did the coup d'état on the family. And what's great about that is you see Percy um, lose that regal aristocrat character that he tries to present himself, and he becomes this vengeance. And they do a really good job of kind of showing this deterioration within Percy as he slowly gets consumed by this vengeance that he's and hatred he's had for years, ever since the massacre of his family. And the violence in this show, as you can see on the screen in front of you, they don't let up with the violence. They do a wonderful job of really showcasing the violence in this show. The action is phenomenal, and the humor with the action is great. And that's Percy on your screen right there that you see with his pistol, which is interesting that his pistol was created using his fear and hatred. A demon attaches onto him, and through this unconscious contract that he made with the demon, it provided him with the inspiration for his weapon of vengeance. And that is really awesome the way they show that. They do a wonderful job of showing this deterioration within his spirit and the emergence of the demon. And when you get to the second half of season one and you start seeing the demon reveal itself, you realize that you're dealing with something that's entirely otherworldly, and they do a wonderful job of addressing that. And while this is going on, um, at the exact same time, you have the revelation that the kingdom of Taldoria is getting attacked by this mysterious force, and Vox Machina is hired to deal with it. And when Vox Machina exposes the fact that they are dealing with a dragon, and that the dragon transformed as the general was masquerading as the general of Taldoria and slowly destroying the kingdom's army and destroying the local villages that ran food and supplies into the kingdom. And as Vax Machina is uncovering this, you have the Derolo family see the weakness in Taldoria and use it as a way to exploit the situation. So Vox Machina deals with the situation with the unknown force, which turns out to be a dragon that is, masquerading as a general and depleting the city's army. After the dispatch of the dragon, you'll probably see a slide of Grog, who's in front of you holding a human hand. The humor is phenomenal in this show. The dispatch of that, and that situation of killing the dragon exposes the Derolos to um, Percy and the Vox Machina crew. I want to make sure I'm getting this right. Briarwood, that's who it is. Yeah, Percy is Derolos is Percy. The Briarwoods are the ones who take over um, Winterfell. So Percy is a Derolo, and the Briarwoods are the ones who take over Winterfell. I'm sorry, I apologize that I got that mixed up. So the Briarwoods are now using the weakness within Taldoria to gain more power. And Percy realizes this when he sees them there, and they put a spell on the king because it turns out that she's a witch and her husband is a vampire. She made a deal with some creature that you see on the screen in front of you to essentially bring it into this realm of existence in exchange for bringing her husband back to life. And so the second half of the show, after the first part, is dealing with the dragon, and we continue with the second half because I think the second half is a little bit more important right now because it establishes, the crew and the future arcs that you're going to see. So as I was saying, you essentially have the Briarwoods create trying to bring in this entity, the Whisper One, into this plane of existence. And during this battle between the Briarwoods, Delilah and Percy, the demon finally reveals itself, and Percy is forced to battle himself while battling the demon. They do a wonderful job of showcasing this. And eventually, what ends up happening is during the reclaiming of Winterfell, I'm calling it Winterfell, the reclaiming of Whitestone for Percy, he ends up having to shoot off his own hand to free himself from the demon. So the show does a really great job of just building of establishing this situation. Now, after they're dealt with the in front of you right here, you have the Briarwoods. So Delilah on the right, her husband on the left, and that's Percy's sister in the middle, who we end up finding out is alive. So they do a really good job of adding some special plot twists into the show. So they end up dispatching the Briarwoods, but the entity at the bottom, the ziggurat, where they're dealing with, like I said, the Whisper one, they don't know what it is. So that in and of itself is going to be a future story that they're going to address. And I like that they are just leaving that breadcrumb in there. The show, season one, ends with an attack on Taldoria. After an attack on Taldoria, during which the king of Taldoria um, relinquishes his throne and passes it on to the council of the city's council that he gains guidance from, because he's realized that his guidance as a king is no longer validated because of the weakness and the mistakes, the major mistakes he made. And this is at the exact same time that Vox Machina has been celebrated for their achievements of dispatching the dragon and dealing with the situation at Whitestone, and um, Percy Derulo being able to reclaim Whitestone, and his sister now being the Lord of Whitestone, or I should say the Lady of Whitestone. So they do a wonderful job of addressing all of the stories and these story arcs. And it ends with Taldoria being invaded by multiple dragons. So you have essentially the first part dealing with the invasion within Taldoria and being exposed that the general was actually a dragon masquerading and destroying the city's army, which we don't know why yet. The second part, it ends up dealing with the weakness of the city being utilized by the Briarwoods, who ousted and killed Percy's entire family, except for him and his sister. They are able to dispatch Percy, able to dispatch the Briarwoods and reclaim Whitestone under the Derulo name. Yet you have the ziggurat underneath the city of of Whitestone, and the Whisper one, who is trying to re-enter the realm of their realm. So we have multiple things going on, but we don't know when the Whisper one story arc will be addressed. We have to deal with the fact that Taldoria is just about to be invaded by dragons, and it has no standing army because its standing army was wiped out by a dragon masquerading as the kingdom's general. So that is essentially what season one deals with. And it really just focuses on Percy and dealing with his revenge and his story arc. And I think using him as the introduction into this world is perfect, because a classic revenge story always hits right if the beats are done well and the writing and the action supports it, which season one does phenomenally. So I really recommend people do not sleep on Vox Machina. You will not be disappointed. It is a phenomenal show. The writing is great. The action is fucking fantastic. Like, it's so fucking good. The humor is fucking incredible. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to swear a little bit. Like, the humor is great. Like, Scanlan, like, what's great about Scanlan, right, is the fact that he is a barb, and his powers are using his magical lute and playing music, and he can make fists. He does like a middle finger. It's hilarious, and he's a sex crazed, coward who you can always count on at the last minute. And there's a really great story arc with, you can see him right here floating on his magical hand. He's so funny. There's a great little mini arc with him in season one addressing a little bit of the fact that, the crew doesn't really trust him to do things on his own because he's such a, he just fucks around too much. He's an asshole. Um, but he ends up following through and proving to be really good on his own as well. So it's a really great character. Um, Vex and Vex and Vax, the twin elves, they're great characters as well. And what's awesome about Vex, she has the ability to sense dragons. So that is used in the story arc as well in season one. You have Keyleth, who is another elf, but she can control Earth. She's a really funny character. She's very goofy, quirky. She's a little unsure of herself, but she still follows through. Grog, he's just this crazy ogre. He's one of those guys who's like dumb smart. Like he says a lot of dumb shit, but he's really smart at the exact same time. It's great. And Pike, who they're like best friends, she's a little gnome. She is like a warrior monk. She's essentially the strongest character in the group, second to like Grog. And she's funny. She swears, she cusses, but she loves her team. She has the healing abilities because of the Everlight, the goddess that she worships. So she's also a really great character. And like I said about Percy, he's an oligarch, so he's very regal. He doesn't swear. He talks very proper, and they just do they just work. Like I said earlier, their strengths and their weaknesses and their quirks make them that much stronger as a group. So do not sleep on this show. Please go for it. Check it out. You will not be disappointed. It is a wonderful, wonderful show. And that concludes a Ronin review, season one, The Legend of Vox Machina. And until next time, stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love.